Good afternoon, everybody. So,
Good afternoon, sir.
So as we have said we have given in the schedule. So my job is to introduce you to the topic of CAD and 3D printing file formats. Uh, this is the core of additive manufacturing. Just a minute. అయ్యో స్లైడ్ మూవ్ అవ్వట్లేదేంటి
సార్ స్లైడ్ మూవ్ ఒకసారి చూడండి సార్ స్టక్ ఏమైనా
వచ్చారు. Yeah. Good afternoon once again, the participants. I am Professor L. Krishnanand, professor in mechanical engineering. So we were in this area for the last dozen years. In fact, I am also the coordinator of TechIP. So in the first phase also, we purchased our first 3D system, in which we have completed 2 PhDs in that, and right now myself and Ravi, we have guided together. We have guided 1 PhD, and now anyway, that is the just background. See, I am a old professor here, joined here in 1987. So almost completing 33 years of my stay here. So recently we have purchased under TechIP this metal RP machine, costing around 1.5 crores. So just before lockdown we installed it. We are yet to start the operations. Now coming to my presentation for this 1.5 hours is it goes like this: introduction to CAD systems, geometrical modeling, STL file format, STL file problems, advantages of STL files, AMF file format, future plans of AMF, other 3D printing data formats. All right. As you know, these are all simple definitions which every one of you are already aware, except who are coming from science backgrounds, because I have seen some people coming from science backgrounds also. See, CAD is nothing but use of computer systems to assist in creation, modification, analysis, and or optimization of a design. So design here includes geometrical modeling, 2D, 3D modeling, including drafting, part creation, and analysis. Anyway, you are aware of finite element analysis. We do optimization and other analysis. So anyway, these are all just introductory, making you familiarize with the terminology of the CAD. So we have visualization issues where we use computer graphics, which includes rendering a model, creating pie charts, contour plots, shading a model, and sizing and animation. So the modeling has, when I joined in 1987, we had only simple AutoCAD, where we used to draw 2D drawings of a component. But now we have gone to the extent of even artificially or virtually creating a digital Play-Doh. See, Play-Doh is a kind of what you call uh, digital clay, where you can use some kind of digital clay and you can make certain objects within the digital play. Like, see, the owner of this particular Play-Doh, digital Play-Doh, is Hasbro, which is a famous toy company. In fact, those who have kids, they can buy this digital Play-Doh so that you can encourage the creativity of your kids. So we have, that means so much development has happened from simple 2D drawings. We are now creating what is so called a digital clay. Digital clay where we can play and you get some kind of feel of the clay also using appropriate haptic devices, right? So technology has increased so much, right? And after 2D drawings, then the next development was wireframe, and after that surface modeling, and then solid modeling. So in fact, NIT Warangal has purchased its first workstation in 1990, and that was a Desi CAD workstation called Godrej Solid Molder. And but now, when we think back, we think that it is a very simple solid model. So what is now, you in those days, to rotate a solid model, it used to take a lot of computational overhead, and most of the systems were not good enough to rotate a solid model dynamically. But and now you see, like, even a laptop can rotate any solid model as you please, and then we have now on a laptop you have a lot of variety of graphic accelerator cards like NVIDIA, ATI, all those solid modelers hardware attachments have come, like NVIDIA, where we can convert a laptop into a very good workstation. So we have moved from 2D modeling to 3D wireframe, surface, and then solid model. So what are the issues? Why we don't use now wireframe is because of ambiguity and no mass and no surface information. It has just a list of curve equations, coordinates of points, and they show connectivity between those points, and it is a bit easy method. Now coming to surface molder, it is a bit much more better than a wireframe, because now you have avoided that ambiguity in the representation of a product or a component. You can have connectivity, adjacency, interpolation of points, curve nets, translation or sweep of curves, right? Like that means you have NURBS, you have B-spline, and then so many kinds of curves are now supported, right? And now from coming to, that means like what fit to complex free-form surfaces. So free-form surfaces means like these Bezier, B-spline, NURBS. These are all free-form surfaces based on that. So in fact, like if you see in the figure, like the MIT Strata Center, if you look at it, it was made in by a surface modeler, and like that MIT Strata Center, it is almost if you see that building really, like it is about to collapse. That is the kind of innovation they did. If you and then there is a Frank Gehry museum, which is built in Spain. So like this, and you can create a human face also, because it is basically a surface modeler, and there is only surface you can depict. It is you can't do any what you call center of gravity or moment of inertia kind of calculation on a surface modeler. So because basically the problem with surface modeler is you can't say which side of the surface is solid and which side of this surface is empty. So that has been resolved in the next version, that is solid modeler. So here you have say has a closed volume, no in and out. It has a mass and inertia facility to calculate, huge input data match. So you have a lot of it is a computationally intensive app, right? So and then and there is how you build a solid mold of a component like a gear or a complex product like a automobile or a gear what do you call gearbox. So you can see like some of the exhaust the exhaust of IC engine. So all these things are possible now with solid molder. You can see here that it is also user friendly, and there are 2-3 philosophy of building a solid molder of a component. One is those who are already aware of it. It is one is CSG approach, and another is BREP, and another third form is parametric. And now most of the softwares allow you to go for a hybrid way of building a component. And apart from this, most of the solid molders are coming with what you call they can simultaneously prepare bill of materials so much, and it can be easily integrated to your production and downstream operations like computer-aided process planning. So a lot of integration is coming in all these what you call developments. So you can see here like in CSG approach, you have union, intersection, and difference kind of operations you can perform on all these 6 basic primitives. So like this is block, cylinder, wedge, sphere, and cone, and torus. So this using these 6 primitives, you can build any kind of complex product using any of these, a combination of these 3 what you call operations. You can see like a union. You have here you got the union between a block and a cylinder. Then here you can create a groove by just intersection. So like this you can make different variety of components. And then this is BREP. So basically you build up from vertices to edges to faces. So you can build this way also any solid object. And then there are certain ways which you have simplified the modeling. Like for example, you draw a simple what do you call a 2D cross section profile is produced, and depth is given to the profile. So generally 4 types are there: extrude, revolve, sweep, blunt, right? And we can see some of these operations here. linear sweep where the profile is given a depth of in straight line perpendicular profile plane, and then here you can see this and oblique, and then we have and anyway the third one is impossible, and you can see how it is this product is built through a sequence of extrude and union and subtraction combination, right? So this is the process in which the ultimately you got this particular component. So people have built a lot of user friendliness into the CAD models. So here there are some more examples of revolve, and then step-by-step revolve of how you make a first of all a what you call sketch, 2D sketch, and then you revolve around an axis. So you directly that means it is supposed to be a very complex component can be easily derived from a revolve operation using by first of all drawing a sketch and then using some kind of parametric way of building this sketch also. That means you can prepare, you can at upfront you can give some kind of what you call ratios between the dimensions of this profile. So thereby you can magnify or reduce by just managing the parameters, right? So this is another way of building the solid object. Then we have like for example, particularly this is good for building exhaust pipes, fuel or hydraulic circuits, and this is blend. I think we have done some few exercises during our first year engineering drawing using ND-Bud, this kind of blends. And then we have we are now coming to see one problem that these different softwares posed to the users is most of these, like you take SolidWorks or what do you call Pro-E, all these Unigraphics, all these softwares, they can't communicate with each other. So what happened? Then people, in order to increase the openness in the transfer of one solid model into another solid model of another software, people have come up with what is so called IGS format. So IGS format is supposed to be a neutral file format, which is independent of the hardware that you are using to generate that particular model in the first place. Say here, if you are looking at this slide, this PostScript, which was invented by Adobe, like Adobe means it is the company which also invented this PDF file formats. So actually PostScript is again a page description language developed by Adobe. So after some time, what they have done is they have given up this, what you call, they gave up their proprietary rights on these scripts, and they said like they are going to give it freely to everybody. So that is how like for example, here you are seeing data interchange. See here, irrespective of what kind of printer, 2D printer you are using, as long as this 2D printer can accept PostScript or page description language, so every Word or what you call Apple Office. All these, see, they have different platforms, hardware and OS platforms. So how you can transfer a word that is made in Apple comfortably? You can load it onto a MS Office is through you are using there in that case you are using RTF. So similarly, if you want to print any document on any printer, now people have invented a neutral file format called PostScript. PostScript is page description language where it can it has standardized the way you can convey printing information to a printer, like what is the size of the paper, is it A4 or legal, and how figures have to be placed with respect to the text. So they have it is something like what is HTML for a browser. So similarly, what happened is for 3D printing, people have invented what is so called STL file format, where irrespective of what kind of 3D printer you are using, whether it is FDM or Metal RP or whatever DMD, whatever the printer, that 3D printer you are using, every printer now by default it accepts STL file format. So that means it is the responsibility of every printer to make his printer convenient, or you make the firmware of that particular printer compatible to this standard file format of this 3D printers. So it is like STL is something like equivalent to PostScript, whereas PostScript is useful for print 2D prints, whereas STL is correspondingly STL file format is for 3D printer. So irrespective of whatever printer you might be using, 3D printer, by default STL is accepted. In fact, this this kind of what you call standardization is not visible in say in a CNC machine. See, even in CNC machine you have G and M ports there, but again there are different versions of GM and ports. So that's why like people have come up with the concept of specific post processors there. But now here we are using only like here, whereas STL is by default, it is the standard interface between a CAD software and a 3D printer. So that's why we have put this slide. So what is PostScript for a 2D printer is what is STL for a 3D printer. So that's why we are going to discuss a bit depth on this STL file format. So here you can see the 3D printing what do you call it, process chain, right? So here we are so we started with the 3D, we start with 3D modeling, then data conversion, and diskette T, and then email, and then and then you transfer it to computer of RP equipment, right? Checking and preparing, because here you will do that slicing operations and prepare for the and convert this STL file into slices, and then feed it to the RP equipment here, right? And then as a Dr. Ravi was mentioning in the morning now that now this is the, in fact, like post-processing has become more costlier than the 3D printing, because particularly this is a fact, because now you have to carefully remove the what you call support structures. You have to do some kind of heat treatment if it's a metal component. You have to do ultraviolet curing, oven, ultrasonic cleaning. So sometimes post-process almost, as he said, like it costs 70% of your 3D printing costs. So now now let us go to STL representation. So as in the morning, our Ravi has said that Chuck Hull is the inventor of these 3D systems. Incidentally, he's also now Chief Technology Officer of 3D Systems. So in fact, like see, in the end of his lecture, Ravi was saying, like it's not that you invent certain things, but you should also know where to commercialize it. See, for example, he has given the example of the Japanese inventors, but I know an incident of where French people actually almost simultaneously invented this 3D printing, but unfortunately, they were the employees of GE, General Electric company there, General Electric unit of France. They rejected, saying that this is not a commercially viable technology. But whereas Chuck Hull not only invented, but he has seen to it that it is commercially a viable industry. Now, I think even Chuck Hull must be surprised to see the kind of developments that people are seeing now, where it has gone into, whereas initially he was using only polymers, ultraviolet sensitive polymers, and now he has gone to what you call 3D printing, and then what you call functionally graded materials. That means maybe in 10 years, like people might even make a fully functional what do you call a cell phone in one go, right? So so this is the STL file format. Here you can see this is a solid name, list of facets. So by the way, STL means standard tessellation language. Some people also said like triangular language, triangular format. So, but anyway, tessellation is the right word. So standard tessellation language based on that, and this was invented by Chuck Hull. And you can see here you can see that how the format of each facet will be. Like you have facet normal, Ni, Nj, Nk. So outer loop, internal loop, like so here every facet is uniquely identified by its three. So facet is nothing but a triangle, and the order of putting them, vertex v1, v2, v3, they're arranged in a way like it will follow a right hand thumb rule. That means v1, v2, v3. So they are arranged in a clockwise, where its normal pointed outwards, depicting that is the empty space. So what is opposite to that is a solid. Okay, so that is the philosophy of this. So here you have a normal vector, and what do you call, unit normal vector and its corresponding vertices which are connected to that particular normal vector. So like for example, like if you take a cube, when you generate a STL file for that, it will have 12 facets because cube has 6 faces. So each face again is divided into 2 facets, 2 triangular facets, and you can see like how meshing is done, and this is all done automatically with the software. So we need not struggle to do it, but there are problems when you are doing it automatically. We will see what are those problems. So as I said, like this is the right hand rule. Data about triangle vertices must be stored in the file in an order fashion to identify interior and exterior surfaces, right? So exterior surfaces by putting the vertices in the clockwise direction, and then we have and there is a vertex to vertex rule which says a triangle must share exactly 2 common vertices with each adjacent triangle. So you can see here you can see that these 2 triangles, they are sharing exactly 2 what you call vertices, right? So this is vertex to vertex, whereas this way interaction is not, it is incorrect. That means there is an error in generating this kind of STL file, and these such kind of errors, they normally occur because of various reasons, and this is where you have to use sometimes some third party software like Magic to correct these, auto correct these abnormality when you are converting a surface into facets, triangular facets. So anyway, like those things, fortunately now most of the work to repair such kind of instances has been simplified by either proprietary software like Magic, or in fact you have what you call open source software which will help you to correct these kind of mistakes when you are generating. See, normally these mistakes happen because of rounding of errors, some kind of adjacency tolerance, some kind of issues will come, and fortunately to come out of those kind of situations, we have now automatic software to do that. Now coming to, so when you are generating an STL file of a particular component, these are the things that you should take care of. So like for example, triangulation tolerance. That means this is normally occurs between like, you know, for example, let me draw, if it is possible for me to draw. Suppose this is a curve, right? So every surface is again converted into standard tessellation file. So you have, so this is the, let us say, so the gap between the original curve and the edge of this triangle, this is called as triangulation tolerance. So this is one thing that you should if you go for smaller triangles, then the tolerance will come down, that means will improve, like, or improve or reduce the gap. So you have a more accurate representation of the surface if you go for smaller triangles. But at the same time, it will increase the file size. So here uh, you have to make some kind of trade-off between. See, sometimes if you choose a triangulation tolerance which is beyond the capacity of the hardware or machine tolerance, then there is no point in increasing the triangulation tolerance. So you have first of all study the machine and accordingly decide the triangulation tolerance. Similarly, like if you come to adjacency tolerance, uh, this is with regard to like if you have provided some kind of what do you call you get the chamfer edges at the corners, or you have put some kind of radii at the corners, then how much radii it can tolerate. So these are again dependent on, it is also again dependent on how much. See, for example, if two mating parts are there, so how much tolerance there you have given. So you should end up giving tolerance which is less than that. All right. See, otherwise it will try to merge those two corners, and you don't see even that particular chamfer or radii. So here, these are the practical issues. So before you create the STL file, first of all you have to see. Uh, First of all, you have to see the what you call where you are going to use that particular one. So anyway, at the similarly out on normal generation, whether you want it on or off. See, normally what happens is in why we keep it sometimes on is if it the surface is very complicated, which has too many concave and convex combination of surfaces, sometimes software gets confused in which way the normal should be. So if you keep it on, you know like whether the software is consistent in its normal depiction. So so here like 3 and 4 they do that triangle display. These are all, see, these are all not so important. 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe header information is a bit, anyway, that is like who created this particular STL file, for what component, which is the mother product, that kind of information you can put it in header information. So here main thing is first two things are very critically important when you are creating a STL file, right? Now coming to just 1 minute. So problems with STL file format. So problems due to the triangular boundary approximation. As I said, anyway, we are going to see them figuratively, those approximation issues. Then we have problems intrinsic to the STL format is file size. As I said, like if you want to increase our like improve the adjacency tolerance, automatically your file size is going to increase. Then truncation errors, and then incompleteness, inconsistency, inconsistent normals, incorrect normals. So these are all the problems which are intrinsic to this. So that's why you have softwares like Magix to correct this. And anyway, as I said, like there are a lot of even open source softwares which can help us to correct these some of these intrinsic issues. Problems due to data conversion and transfer algorithm. So here, you know, as I said, like whenever you are importing or exporting from one platform to another platform, these issues also crop up. Like for example, this is the major headache, even in the case of when you are converting from translating from IGS file to a DXF file or vice versa, or even for from IGS to what do you call, or from IGS to IGS file created by SolidWorks to IGS file created for the same component in what do you call ProE. Sometimes they may not exactly match because of the rounding of issues, truncation errors. So all these things also sometimes, depending on the object, it will magnify. So you have gaps, you have internal walls, then degenerate faces. Like anyway, we are going to see them incorrect intersections. So this is what we said, like approximation. A major problem with the triangulate boundary is that curved faces can only be approximated by triangular faces. A large number of faces gives a high approximation accuracy, but results in an extremely large amount of data. Like for example, as I said before, spotlight. So here you see the same surface is approximated by what you call triangulated boundary. So anyway, this is not an exact representation of this. So we have compromised on the waviness. So here, if you go for low size triangles, probably it tends to match with the exact surface of the preformed surface. But at the same time, you pay the penalty in the form of higher file size, and also you should also watch to what kind of resolution your 3D printer can accommodate that kind of higher resolution of surfaces. Okay, that is one. So here, like so problems intrinsic to the STL file, STL format, like that is here. So file sizes are unnecessarily large because of redundancy in the file format. Like facet normal information is redundant since the semantics of the allow this to get from the order. So here, what this means is that every vertex there is a redundancy in it, because if you take a because every vertex is shared between two triangles or facets. So naturally, and in each facet, every time that that particular vertex is shared by across various triangles, it is again repeated. But actually, even though we can't say this is a problem, actually this is a more of a kind of redundancy, because sometimes the redundancy is also good. But anyway, people say like it is consuming a lot of memory and all those things. But see, now memories have come down a lot. When Chuck Hull invented this format in 1983, Chuck Hull had this memory issue, but even then he went for redundancy, because sometimes rounding off errors or truncation errors can spoil the whole show. But now this file size is no more a big issue now, even though we have listed here, but because memories prices have come down drastically. See, when we purchased Godrej workstation, 12 MB additional 12 MB of RAM costed us 1 lakh. But now, see, 1 GB memory is now costing only around, say, maybe 4 GB, 1 GB RAM costs around maybe 1,000 rupees or 500. But in those days, the memories are quite costly. But now, file size is not a big issue. But only thing is, everything comes down to your machine, 3D printing machine accuracy. How much, with what kind of resolution that it can print a job. Now coming to truncation errors, the vertex coordinates and normal component beats are present single precision real number. They're actually so anyway, like this also people have overcome, like with 32 people. Most of the softwares are migrating from 32 bit to 64 to reduce these truncation errors. And the incompleteness, the STL format is completely described the triangulated because topology information is not stored. If it was present, this in fact could be used to speed up. So anyway, we will come to that topology issues in the next slide. Inconsistencies, inconsist tolerant if it is created by appending two different STL files. Also, there may be gaps in that. So, as I said, like suppose you are simultaneously making a kind of I say an assembled product using the same. So sometimes what happens if the edges are so close, because of the closeness, sometimes it might try to merge the two separate cases. So that is a problem, or even to split a particular surface. Inconsistent normals, as I said, like you can see, like because this will create a nuisance of we may get confused, like which side of the face is solid and which is empty. So this problem is also there. And then incorrect normals, sometimes you know, because of the conversion algorithm, so sometimes the normals computed from the basic vertices may go wrong. So anyway, as I said, like all these problems are now being corrected using third-party softwares like Magix. And then we have this like problem due to data conversion. So here, as you said, like if you come here, so if you come here, that is what he means by gap. So if you reduce the size of the or increase the mesh density, these gaps will come down, but at the same time, it may lead to higher memory storage. But at the same time, as I said, like the prices of the memories have come down. That is not a problem. But now, most of the 3D printers, they suffer from a very low precision. So still, it is an issue, which is the surface roughness of 3D printed objects. They have very bad surface finishes. So that's why people say like you have to do a lot of post processing overhead is there for 3D printing because of the a bad kind of surface roughness, a very rough surface roughness. Now again, like this see when you are doing what you call fill pattern, like each slice is again you do it with some pattern. So sometimes what happens is, because of these two edges, they are not properly merged. What happens is sometimes when you are generating each slide, sometimes the nozzle will go beyond this gap. So that is why this is again why you should avoid such kind of gaps. So that is one of the problems of what you call this data conversion and transfer algorithms. So wait. Hello.
సార్
Ah.
ఓకేనా సార్ ఏమైనా ప్రాబ్లం వస్తుందా?
లేదమ్మా, అది ఒక్కసారి దాంట్లోకి వెళ్తే రావట్లా.
అలాగే సరే.
ఒక్క నిమిషం. This is another problem of, as I said, like internal walls. Suppose whenever we are building what you call solid objects using CSG approach. In CSG approach, we merge. See, in this case, you are doing union operation between rectangular and cylindrical object. So what is happening? Sometimes if the software doesn't merge or unionize them, so you have a separate internal walls. So that means these two surfaces they have not properly merged. So what happens is whenever you are doing STL, you are generating STL file, so it treats this as one object and this as one object instead of treating them one together. So this because of improper joining of objects, so you end up having this kind of issues. So this is another error. And then we have degenerate facets. Facets may degenerate having zero area. There can be so this is what we call degenerate faces. Like here, here you can see that topological. That means a degenerate triangle means where three coincident vertices, all the 3 points are almost merged. So and similarly, like where what we call two vertices of a triangle, they also degenerate. Here degenerate triangle with 3 unique vertices. So here also you can see that all the 3 vertices of the triangle are collinear. So you see these kind of topological degeneracies occur, and then so that is geometrical and topological degeneracies. Like this is how they look. Now coming to incorrect intersections. So facets may intersect at incorrect locations apart from at the. So here again, normally at least this has exactly interpenetrated another triangle, but this is not what we expect in any slicing situation. So at least it should cut across the surface. So if you are getting an incorrect intersections, then again it will give this interpenetrations is not a good sign of slicing situation. So this problem also need to be addressed when you are generating. So whenever you generate a STL file, sometimes you may have to manually correct these things or use a software, third-party software like Cura or what you call or open source software like Cura or this one, this Magic, to correct some of these issues. So, so you can see here now. So here you can see, if you are not doing the slicing properly, suppose if you have such kind of gap, see, gap is one of the errors of slicing algorithms. So if you have like, then your nozzle might sometimes go beyond the profile of the object you are trying to build. So how this can be is, first of all, you try to see manually or use some kind of third-party software which will auto correct these kind of situations, or you do some kind of simulation runs or dry runs, because 3D printing is a slow process. So ultimately you should not be ending up discarding a 70% or 80% completed component because of these kind of issues. So we should be very careful. So either through some kind of simulation or dry run software, using them, you should first of all ensure that you are getting a decently a non topological deficiency, a non geometrical deficiency object, and then and you have also other issues like truncation. All that nuisance can be at the beginning itself. You can realize them or identify them using some kind of simulation software or auto correction software, and then only you just download onto the actual machine. Okay, so that is care. That is one of the care that you should take care when you are doing this one. Advantages of STL file. So easy conversion. STL file format is very simple as it contains only list of planar files. See, after Chuck Hull has invented this, almost no improvement was done in the STL file format. It is almost same as what Chuck Hull has made, except for later 3D systems have improved, maybe coming with version 2.0. But otherwise, because why, even though we are going to talk about additive manufacturing file format, still it is not being widely implemented, because you see, it is like sometimes you have to carry that legacy deficiency into future also. Just like, you know, if you take your computer keyboard is based on that, the design is based on manual typewriter, that QWERTY layout. Actually, this QWERTY layout is not a very optimal design, but still why we are using is same keyboard is because that layout has come out of the limitations of the manual typewriter. So similarly, STL, why we are still using it, why it is very popular, is because of that most of the softwares are very conversant with STL. Very, like, see, designing again new algorithms, new slicing algorithms to suit AMF. People are finding it a bit headache. And anyway, when you are getting your things done through STL, why people should break their heads? Because see, manpower cost of a programmer is very high, unlike manual labor. So people are not putting their full efforts to improve this, to get the improvements on this STL format. Even though ASTM has come up with this AMF, still we find almost rarely any commercial vendor supporting AMF to its full-fledged particle capacity or features. So wide range of input. Most 3D representations can be converted into triangular representative, a wide range of, and then simple slicing algorithm. So slicing algorithm designed for this is very easy. Ability to split models, right? You can build a workspace RP into parts. And then the challenges of STL file is duplicate information, leaks, inconsistency, right? So duplicate information is occurring because every vertices ends up in two facets, right? So, but anyway, as I said, we need not think it as a kind of weakness. It is a kind of building some kind of redundancy, okay, and does not scale well to high resolution analysis, right? See, that is another limitation. Does not support color, materials, and orientation. Okay. Now coming to additive manufacturing format, file format, CC is based on XML. XML means it is extensible markup language. So this is a better version than HTML. So normally most of the internet websites are they initially started with HTML, but later people have migrated to XML. So the same XML format is being used for in the design of additive manufacturing file format. So it is a meta format of formats, so, right? So you can have, that means customized tagging. It is a highly tag based format, text based, easy to read and write and parse. That means you can split, you can use existing editing tools, extensible, as the name, extensible in the sense like you can always upgrade easily to new applications, and highly compressible, right? This is another important point in favoring additive manufacturing. That means you can, suppose if you take a complex product like a car which has around 6,000 components, and you want to have an integrated car model on a single file, so that may comes to several GB file, but AMF file format can really compress that file to a large extent using it is more amenable for compression. So what are the features of it? Like it has objects, parts defined by volume and material. Volume defined by triangular mesh. Materials defined by properties names. Color properties can be specified. See, this is a very important feature of AMF, because color, unfortunately, STL, when STL was made, people see Chakhal was very much bothered about how to reproduce a component in digital format to real format. He is not worried about color and texture mapping. See, in the morning, Ravi was showing some what do you call funny objects which have rough surfaces, which is almost representing natural rock. So that is IG, like STL cannot support such kind of texture mapping, whereas AMF is capable of doing it. Then materials can be combined, graded materials, lattice, mesostructures. See, now the latest trend in additive manufacturing is functionally graded materials. Using functionally graded materials, you can use a component. So you can a component need not have, it need not be a homogeneous one. It can start with a very simple material to high grade material, depending on where the loads are happening on that particular object. And then constellation of objects can be defined, like repeated instances, packing, orientation. Like constellation of objects can be defined means, like say, like if you take aircraft fuselage. So aircraft fuselage is assembled using a lot of rivets. So you need not define a repeat just like in STL, whereas in STL every vertices is repeat, its information is repeated every time it appears. But in AMF, suppose you have created once a rivet, that constellation of rivets can be represented at one place. So you need not repeat it. So you can only say like this many times it repeats in the file. So that's why that great capacity of AMF to compress the information, because a nested constellation, that kind of what do you call strategies they use here. So for example, like here addresses vertex duplication and leaks of STL. So leaks means gaps. So that that leaks of STL, that gaps it avoids, and vertex duplication it avoids. So you can see like one of the chest piece, this elephant, how it is represented. So and then this is where I said like compressibility, like if a normal ASCII STL file occupies 750 kilobytes, AMF compressed format occupies only around 50 kilobytes. That is the order of magnitude in the reduction of the file size. So this is where the charm of AMF comes. And another is, you see, normally this is straight line, a triangle with straight edges, but once we since AMF supports these curved patches, so you are going to increase what you call represent of surface, rough freeform surfaces more accurately with the curved patch rather than planar patch. So that is another beauty of AMF. And then anyway, recursive triangle subdivision, like the fourth power of n planar triangle. So like that means if you think that you are not getting enough adjacency tolerance using a particular triangle, you can go for you can further improve the accuracy by this nested or recursive strategy, so that you get say for example if you compare the left sphere with the right this is much more smoother than this, the one which is on the left. So that is the beauty of having this recursive facility. And then anyway, like we have improved accuracy. Like here you can see that STL, how the file size, number of triangles. See with the normals. So here these files you can show that error on unit sphere. So how the error comes down to say 16 to the power of 6 point to the power of 6.8 to the power of -9. So that is the kind of what you call error on a unit sphere you see. So improves, that is the one of the instances of how you can improve the accuracy, surface accuracy. And then here we were talking about what you call functionally graded materials, like where the crown of this elephant is done with one material and the body is done with another material. This is another feature of it. So this kind of functionally graded materials you can easily represent them in a AMF structure. Right? This is so. This is functionally, you can define the function in which that in a graded way you can incorporate into the given object. So this is another representative of graded material. And then you can define even the microstructure, right? Checkerboard, and then various kinds of styles are there. Like see, for example, like in now a lot of interesting microstructures are coming, like double gyroid, single gyroid structures, which are particularly useful in what we call in automobile crash test. See, people are to reduce to protect the passenger in a car, even with a high impact accident, so that like customer is isolated from the serious injury by having a collapsible chassis. And this collapsible chassis is made with some what you call nature inspired microstructures, like double gyroid or single gyroid structures, where we have seen in the morning, like Ravi was showing some naturally inspired ones. So the current strategies AMF approved in May 2011 as ASTM F2915. Revision happened in 2012. Now test of adoption is there, but you know, this test of adoption it is still going on. See, even after 9 years, we are still at the what do you call? We are still in the beginning stage, and most of the commercial software, they are not still fully supporting this AMF format. Okay, and future plans is so to incorporate tolerance information. See, these are all some of the attributes which people are wants as a additional features of AMF. Even though we are yet to get the what you call a full-fledged AMF, still even at the present stage also, additive manufacturing file formats are still in the infancy stage. But people have a still lot of hope on it, in the form of adding additional features in the form of tolerances, specifying tolerances, surface or depth textures, data encryption, and copyright. That means you know, data encryption means like using 64-bit or 124-bit encryption, so that people will not just like that violate copyright. See, people are, these days, this is another nuisance of software. See, like sometimes a company might have spent a lot of R&D to come up with a particular structure or particular product with certain features. So, in order to avoid that theft of intellectual property, you should have some kind of just like now Microsoft has what you call come up with what you call password for if you want to protect your document, or similarly like your income tax returns files, those things, they are now password protected PDF files. So similar feature they want to bring into AMF files. And then external references and subassemblies. See, this is another important thing that people might be looking for, because you see, like for example, like you want to interface this AMF file with a ERP or with your supply chain partners, and sometimes people might even use a kind of blockchain kind of references. So all these, see, in future, people want such kind of security, so that you see, sometimes your enemy, particularly this is very important when you are working in a defense-related industry. So similarly, for process control, this is a kind of giving some kind of clues regarding what kind of process settings you should put while generating the actual component. That is another feature. And then non-volumetric support structures, non-mesh geometry specification methods like FREP, voxel. So non-volumetric support structures means some kind of simple, particularly for to improve the overhangs kind of situations. So where you don't need a very accurate meshing functions there. So these are the future plans that people are planning for AMF, but still application wise, AMF is still far away from actual usage extension. So people have, for certain group of people have come up with the 3MF, particularly a few commercial vendors like Solid 3D systems and a few others. They come with their own proprietary ones, but people are not yet to coming up to this ASTM defined AMF file formats. Okay, but 90% of the time right now we are using only STL, which is as popular as a PostScript of 2D printer. Okay, so with this I take leave of you, and I'm open for these are all other kind of what you call printing formats: STL, SLC, SLI, CLI, RPI. So some of them are proprietary in nature, and then you have other data formats like IGS, HPGL, CT stuff. Okay, but anyway, let us not get confused with ourselves. Just what is more important is our STL and AMF. So, because we need not bother about this initial graphics exchange specification IGS, because that is normal. This is normally used for conventional manufacturing situations. Okay, so with this, I finish my presentation, and anyway, I'm open for what do you call interaction. If people have any doubts, you can just. I hope I can clarify most of your doubts. Yeah,
Anyone
Ravi.
is sir, name sir Narayan Reddy. Sorry,
Yeah. Ravi, Narayan Reddy, you can coordinate the question and answer.
So any good afternoon, one and all. If you have anyone is having question, please ask one by one.
Sir, this is Kiran Kumar from VNR VJIT Hyderabad, sir.
VNR? Okay. Hello.
Can you hello? So can you repeat once again, sir?
Sir, this is Kiran Kumar from VNR VJIT Hyderabad, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Tell me.
Sir, we use different materials for during the 3D printing process. Is there any file format that is recommended specific to material? Is there any relation like that?
No. As far as I know, like there is nothing like because see, that is what I say. Whatever machine you might be using or whatever material you might be using, still the standard format is ST alone.
Okay, sir.
So see, that is another wonder of see, it is a very simple format, but at the same time, because it is why it is so successful is for its simplicity. It's easy to, from there you can slice it. See, you have very beautiful slicing algorithms which are based on that STL, and then you can generate easily corresponding G and M codes fitting to that particular AM machine, right? So that's why STL has become so popular, and that's why AMF is not able to replace it as an alternative for STL. Am I clear, Kiran?
Yes, sir. Sir, small supplementary question, sir. Sir, generally, AMF we have a lot of better features when compared to STL.
Yes.
Yeah. But why we are not using it? Any specific limitation in terms of this compatibility issues, or as you mentioned that QWERTY, what is that? Is compatible. QWERTY keyboard is compatible and transition. Is there something like that, or is anything beyond that?
No, see, one of the nuisances of these neutral file formats is developing the ecosystem around it. Like for example, you have to come with new slicing algorithms suiting AMF formats. Similarly, translators. So it is not just simply developing a format, but you should also build the ecosystem around it. Like SolidWorks, they should convert an AMF file into native format, from native format to AMF format. That means you should have forward translators, reverse translators, and at the same time with a few errors. As I said, in triangulation, in tessellation of the file, tessellation of the surfaces, you end up having very nuisance kind of situations of topological degeneracy and geometrical degeneracy. So if we sometimes we underestimate the complexity involved in that kind of developing those translators as well as slicing algorithms and so many, that ecosystem, entire thing has to be developed. Just coming, even the ASTM has said like we have incorporated color, we have incorporated what you call graded materials, microstructures, but what is the use? You have to develop the corresponding translator suiting to that particular feature, and that is where people are holding up. Like you can do a lot of, if one is good at the programming, maybe one can do some kind of PhD in that particular area, how to develop a better translator for a particular situation. Okay, am
Yes,
I
sir.
clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Great.
Next.
Hello. Sir, good evening, sir.
Mahendran.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. Mahendran from RMK Engineering College nearby Chennai.
Okay.
So, yes, sir. RMK Engineering College. So, in the STL file format preparation, sir. So far, you got told about the conversion of CAD file into STL file. Suppose if we get the STL file based on the scanning, like CT scanning or reverse engineering approach, how much it would be accurate, sir? Please. Or is there any difference between these file formats?
Actually, what happened is, see, you can convert an MRI or CT scan. Normally, they are in DICOM format. So that DICOM format, to convert a DICOM format into STL format, again we have a software called Mimix.
Oh.
And or people, in fact, like see, we have purchased that Mimix. We have spent to purchase that. We have spent 20 lakhs. Fortunately, we got it through some project. But nowadays, what is happening is those who can't afford such kind of proprietary software, people are suggesting to go for open source software like Cura and other related ones. So there are still issues. See, now basically the limitation is on the machine, not on the formats. You can create a very accurate representation of the real life product, like say accurately depicting the hip of a person. But what is the use if the machine doesn't support that kind of accuracies, machine resolution? So that is where the things are holding up. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Have I answered your question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But we need some third-party interfacing software to do that. Mimic the.
Yes. Mimic software, particularly Mimix is very good.
But still the concept. But still the concept is a triangulation. Will be.
Yeah. Triangulation only. That is. See, even if you see any public structures, most of them public structures like functional halls, you just look at the up, you see everywhere triangles only to support that structure.
Yes. Okay.
In that way, triangle is a very robust element.
Yes, sir. One more doubt, sir, please, sir. It is something like finite element meshing, the triangulation done here.
No.
Meshing the surface into small elements. So far, people are following only the triangulation. Why not about the quadrilateral approach like that, sir, or higher order triangulation?
No. See, Mahendran.
Yes.
See here, when we are saying triangulation, we are doing only on the surface.
Yes, sir. Yes,
nothing inside.
yes,
So
sir.
you can't use it for FEM purpose. See, here our idea is only to generate the surface accurately.
Yeah, approximating the surface into small triangles is done, sir.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's all.
That
Beyond
approximate
that,
my doubt is why that approximation cannot be done using higher order triangles. Instead of 3 vertices, we can go for 6 vertices or quadrilateral like that.
see,
It will give more accuracy, no, sir. That's why I'm asking. Sorry.
see, what is the information overload that you are putting in the software?
So it will
Are you
increase file size, but another thing.
see tetrahedron, or you want to replace a triangle with a tetrahedron kind of element? Why 3D element?
Quadrilateral, sir. Quadrilateral, not tetrahedron. Quadrilateral surface. Four-sided instead of three-sided.
See, why we have chosen is,
Yes.
you know, we want to prevent that interpenetration of one facet with the other one.
Other one. Okay.
Triangulation is the best one. If you have a quadrilateral, so sometimes during slicing, it will not cut any edge, but it will go through that.
So mismatching will happen.
Already we are facing with the triangle itself such kind of issue, headache.
Okay.
Because of that only we get gaps in layers, and we have to manually correct sometimes if a magic software is not there with you. Maybe you have to see clearly every layer and then see if there are any gaps in it or not. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Any more questions from the participants? If no question is there, then we will share the quiz questions. The meeting will be.
Good evening, sir. This is Dr. Samir from Kids Warangal, sir.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Sir, in few textbooks, the STL is written as stereolithography. Can we consider that as also an acronym for it, sir?
What is that? What is that?
Actually, the full form of STL is Standard Tessellation Language, no, sir?
Yes, yes.
But some textbooks are referring it as stereolithography. So can it be considered, sir?
See, it is like Hindu gods having multiple Hindu or even any other god. You have multiple names, na? We don't know, like, so there is people have created enough confusion regarding what is the real full form of STL.
Real form. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, you can call it as stereolithography or standard tessellation language or standard triangular language. See, don't bother about that full form. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Let us not break our head. Regarding that full form. Okay.
Okay.
So in that case,
okay, guys.
I thank the
guys. Thank you, guys. In the chat box, we will share the link. You can attend the quiz question.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Bharat. Thank you, everyone, for patient listening.
రాకేష్ భయ్య వచ్చిందా లింక్ ఏమన్నా?
లింక్ రాలేదు. నీకే వస్తుంది. ఇప్పుడు వచ్చింది చూడు. వచ్చింది.
ఓకే, అంటే నాకు కనపడట్లేదు పేస్ట్ చేసినప్పుడు.
వచ్చింది సార్.
ఓకే.
Yeah, and one more thing, participants, the link will be activated now, and it will be there 10 more minutes. Just try to click on it and